lecture with Papa Mike Cassedy, talking about his new book, The Way We Work with Mustangs. This is session 1. We'll have 3 sessions this weekend. So let me let Papa Mike take over the mic.
Thank you, Louisa. Well, my name is Mike Cassedy, and I live in Kentucky, and been around horses probably about the late 60s, and have been in and out of horses for all that time. Back in 2017, I got involved for the first time with Mustang, and it was kind of an interesting scenario. I had never worked with a Mustang before. I worked with a lady's Mustang. She was stuck with her training, and what happened was I absolutely fell in love with the concept of the Mustang and had a passion for it. We got our first Mustang in 2017. One Horse's Journey is his name, and his barn name is the holes that I have in my training, especially when you're dealing with the Mustangs. The first slide that you see the picture to the left with a big buck going on. That is Waktawashte, and that's in the Lakota language, means hoping for good things. It wasn't done purposely that way. The lunge line accidentally got behind his back end, and she pretty much went a little bit crazy about it, but she settled pretty quick. The picture on the right, I just keep this one to kind of let people know. This is Walking on Nuni, which means lost thunder in Lakota. And what happened was, I was asking Walking on to go over about an 8-inch step over. And she caught the step over. It was just a PVC pipe. It spooked her, and she bolted. It's the only time Walking on in about 3 or 4 years has ever spooked at anything. Anyway, she went and bolted. We were in an indoor arena, and my daughter was videoing it. And believe it or not, I did not come out of the saddle. I actually was able to recover enough without jerking on the reins really hard. I grabbed the horn, just kind of pulled myself back up. And next thing you know, I'm back in the saddle, and my daughter had already jumped up. She had gotten ready to pick me up off the ground, but that really wasn't necessary. This is going to be a challenge.
Just click. Click. No. Click the button.
It's not moving.
Want me to help you?
There it is. Okay. So this is the book that I wrote, and this all came about from last year. I was a Mustanger down here in Albuquerque, almost exactly this time last year. And 6 Mustangs and 6 round pen with 6 trainers. And the 6 Mustangs came in on a Thursday night. And on Thursday, we got to take a look at them all day before the actual drawing takes place on Thursday night. One of the Mustangs was a pacer. I mean, he went around and around and around in that round pen all night long. He was so anxious and fearful, and he desperately wanted to get with the rest of the herd. The next morning, came in, he was still pacing at a trot. And when daylight came, he actually just went to an arc, which was closest to the other 5 Mustangs. And we had basically 3 days to see what we were able to accomplish with them. And I didn't even go in each Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Each trainer had a 1-hour session to present to the public. But you were able to come in early. The first session was at 9 o'clock, the last session was at 3. And I would come in around 6:30 in the morning and basically sit outside that round pen and just feed him by hand. And he got really good about it. And then that same night, Friday night, I stayed late till about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and just kept feeding him by hand, trying to get some sort of connection. And when we got done, the trotting pace in an art went away, and he was willing to stand still and occasionally walk back and forth, which was just some real progress. Eventually, I did go in and hand-fed him. Saturday night, I stayed late and lighting so that I could basically he could see me, I could see him, and then I fed him. Sunday came rolling around, I did my sessions. When it was all said and done, I decided that I would just go sit in the middle of my pen with a lap full of hay. Now, he did not lay down on Wednesday night, Thursday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. He was just too fearful to actually lay down. But on Sunday, he had stopped the trot. He was into a calm walk. He actually walked behind me, and he laid down and rolled. And I thought, well, that's pretty good progress for 3 days. But he wasn't done. He actually walked right in front of me, about 4 feet away, directly in front of me, just as straight as an arrow, and he laid down. And he laid down with his head up. And I thought, well, that is pretty cool. And the reason was none of the other Mustangs had laid down with their head up while the other trainers were in the round pens. None that I'd ever seen. And so for him to lay down within about 4 feet of me and to lay there told me that there was a good connection that was taking place. But then the next move just shocked me, and he laid his head down and he fell asleep. And he stayed asleep for about, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and he woke up kind of surprised at himself, and he jumped up, and he turned around and he did it again. Laid down, fell asleep. That told me a lot. And people came over, and the question became, do you have DVDs or CDs or a book or whatever it is you do that you could share? And I told people, no, it's just mentally up here. And so Lisa Durson, who was in charge of the Mustang Summit, came to me or contacted me and said, you need to write a book. And that was in the fall of 2023. In January of 2024, I actually wrote the book. And it's called The Way We Work with Mustangs and Horses. Let's see if I can find a copy of it. Yeah. And it's only 77 pages long, but what it is, it's about horse psychology. It's about trying to understand them and trying to help them understand us, and try to help them understand what we're asking them to do. Now, pressure and release, approach and retreat, and direct pressure are all part of horse training, but it is not a primary for the way. What we try to do is try to first establish a relationship with that Mustang, and then build off of that with the training. Whereas traditionally, we basically try to start the training immediately and eventually get to the relationship. You know, we can't think of his name. Monty, can't think of his last name. Works exactly off of that. He works on the pressure retreat, and eventually he gets that joint up. But this is about horse psychology. This is about see what they see and think what they're thinking. Let's see if I can do this successfully, he says. Oh. So, this is the saying, see what we see, think what they are thinking, and you will have the horse. Now this comes from my uncle, Albert Whitehorse. I have relatives up on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation. My mom and dad went out there in the mid to late 60s, and I spent 5 to 7 summers on the res, working horses, going to powwows. I was basically, well, I feel strong, raised in the culture, the spirituality, and even speak some of the language. That's why all my Mustangs and all my horses are named in the Lakota language. But I had an uncle, Albert Whitehorse, who I tell people that he's like one of the original horse whisperers, but he would carry a 2x4, not literally. But he really tried to get a read on him. He really tried to get an understanding. And then when it got to that point where they really understood, they just decided, I don't really want to do it, then they would go to his boot camp. And I now have what I call Papa Mike's boot camp. And the story behind this, as briefly as I can tell it, is there was a trail ride on the res, which we were lucky if we had 2 or 3 times we would go out, because nobody went to the res. It was in the middle of nowhere. But the reservation was trying to bring in tourism. We had a village where the kids and I danced, and then we had the trail ride. And every morning I would walk that half a mile down to the trail ride and help saddle up horses and do whatever it was needed. We had 3 horses saddled up, and one of them would come loose. He walks away, and of course I'm going to cowboy up, I'm going to go get him. And just about time I took a step, I felt a hand hit me in the chest, and I looked up, and there was my Uncle Albert Whitehorse. His question was, what is that horse thinking? And if you're 10, 11, your answer is, I don't know. He says, tell me what that horse is thinking. And I said, I don't know. And he asked the 3rd time, and I was about to cry. I was a little bit worried about where this was all going. He says, where is he standing? Now the horse has got a saddle on and it's got a bridle on. He says, where is the horse standing? And the horse is about 25 feet from me. I said, over there. He says, in the grass or in the gravel? I said, no, in the grass. Where's the reins? They're laying on the ground. Where's his head? It's down. Is he eating? No. Is he walking off? No. Does he look like he's worried? No. Well, tell me what he's thinking. And the only thing I could come up with, this is a really good place to rest. And my Uncle Albert said to me, I thought you told me you didn't know what he was thinking. And the very next words out of his mouth is this quote. And when he said, see what they see, think what they're thinking, and you will have the horse, I didn't understand have until I got older. And then I understood what we're talking about when we have. That's that joy, that's that connection, that's that relationship. And so that stayed with me, and that actually is the whole foundation of my horsemanship. It's about reading the Mustang, reading the horse, and understanding what they see, understand what they're thinking, and try to help them understand what you're asking them to do. This is like an adventure. It's working. This is my Uncle Albert Whitehorse. And we only have a few pictures of him. And I happen to have 3 of them. And I actually had sent these pictures out to my relatives on the Rosebud, and his daughter, Carmen Whitehorse, got a hold of me and asked me, is there any way you could send me copies of that picture? And I said, absolutely, and I sent the picture over to her. But Uncle Albert was a full-blood, and he broke horses for a living. Him and my Uncle Jerome and my Uncle Jesse guesstimate, maybe a 30-foot by 20-foot log house with a dirt floor, and it had a freestanding wood-burning stove in the middle of it that Grandma Nancy Whitehorse cooked off of, and that was the heat for the winter. And they used to haul water from down at the creek about 50, 60 yards away. But he knew horses, and he had a terrific read on them. Now, everything that I'm going over is in the book. See what they see, the rest of the saying, the most important lesson of all. Because the traditional way of training horses today is pressure and release, approach, retreat, and direct pressure. But when you start using the psychology, when you start using the mental process of see what they see and think what they're thinking, it changes your mind. It changes how you think about that relationship with the horse. And when we got Journey back in 2017, I realized there was something I needed to do. Let's see what we're at next. These are some quotes that I found that are so parallel. Horsemanship of every kind depends on mutual interaction between equine and human brains. When we understand the function of both, we can learn to communicate with horses on their terms instead of ours. By meeting the horse halfway, we achieve many goals. So I understand them, they understand me. That's the halfway point. But what we're so anxious to do is to train the horse. So we use pressure and release and approach and retreat and direct pressure. But Janet Jones, brain scientist and horseman, describes human and equine brains working together. It's so parallel to what we look at in our terms of our work. Before we can ever hope to understand, let alone control and communicate with a horse, it is important to know the basic psychology that motivates a horse's behavior in the first place. Julie Goodnight, a well-known national trainer. And again, she understands the idea that it's a mental process and it doesn't have to be about the mechanics and technique. Because horses are prey animals, they have a strong, attuned sense of awareness. They can sense things that are not perceivable to most humans. Don't know if you're aware. A horse, a study was done, and a horse can feel a human heartbeat up to 5 feet away. So when you walk up to them and you're going to act all calm and whatever, you go, oh, nice horse, and your heart is going 100 miles an hour. They pick that up. They know. I don't know what the heck's going on with him, but no. The other thing is, we give off an electromagnetic field. All living creatures do. And I don't want to get into it deep, but it's an electromagnetic field. It's like that bubble that a lot of people talk about. So the more nervous we are, the bigger our electromagnetic field becomes. So as I approach that horse, and all of a sudden he feels that from 8 feet away or whatever, he's like, I don't know what's going on with this guy, but I don't think I want any part of it. So between being able to pick up the heartbeat and the electromagnetic field, we can't fake it. So when I walk in, and this is part of the rest of the picture, Team Papa Mike, we got the Mustang in 2017, but since 2017, we have worked with about 40 or more Mustangs of all different training levels. People call up, are you Papa Mike? Yes. Well, a friend of mine said you might be able to help me with my Mustang. And I already know where it's going from there. Now, I've been to Texas and Florida. I've been up in the North New England area. I've been to Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, out in South Dakota. People call up, can you help me out? And I tell them yes. And they go, well, how do you know for sure? You're just going to have to trust it because you're so used to doing the traditional pressure and release and approach and retreat that there is another avenue. And a lot of our trainers that are the Mustangers that are doing work today, like Sky Epperson and Anna Marie, it's a different approach rather than the traditional approach. So they can pick up your heartbeat. So when I go to somebody's place and I tell the person, okay, just give me a little bit of backup, and I was in Texas and did a Mustang that a lady had for 10 years, and the most they could do was herd it into a paddock, eventually get a halter on it, and maybe do a few scrubs and rubs, but that's it. They could not catch it out in the open pasture. One of the things that I did is, we worked through it in the paddock area. 4 days after I got there, that Mustang was following that lady around. She came in one day, and we had all finished. I had been there the 4 days, and I was taking a break. She came running in, she threw up her hands, she was crying and carrying on, and what's going on? So you're not going to believe it. I was feeding my geese and my ducks, and I was leaning over the fence, and I felt something on my shoulder. I turned around, and here's the Mustang. I said, "You're kidding?" She goes, "No." So I go back out and reassure, and I'll talk about reassurance, and give him a treat, because I'm an R+ trainer. Reinforcement, positive reinforcement. She went back out. Now she's over here feeding her other animals. Sure enough, come right behind her, kind of nudged her a little bit, turn around. There's her Mustang. So there was that joy of it that had taken up to have the horse. But 10 years, 2 trainers couldn't get there. But it was about the mental aspect rather than the mechanics and the technique. And again, all of this is in the book, and so I don't forget to mention, the reason I wrote the book, and it's a whopping $14, was not to make money, it was to help people that get stuck. I mean, people that I've gone this past year, because I've only had it, I've been had this a whole year, people that have bought it and read it, and a couple of national renowned trainers have said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you actually put into words what a lot of us were thinking. This is a great help." Okay, it's not a cure-all, it's not magical, it's not mystical, it just seems to help. Filling a void, gamble, let's back up, and light bulb went on. So, a few years ago, we went to a clinic that another trainer was putting on, and we had a Maury, half Arabian, half Morgan. He was terrific. He was a people horse. He was all pretty when he would go because he had that Arabian tail and the whole 9 yards. But he could run barrels and run poles, and he could herd cattle. He could do it all. So, and we had worked with him. We used the way. So we brought him, this trainer asked if we could bring a horse so she could show some training methods. And they said, sure. So we brought him. One of the things that she wanted to show was how to make a horse back up. So she's got him on the lead rope, and she starts to shake the rope. And his head just starts to go up. Then she went the other way, and now the clip is hitting him in the chin. And his head goes higher. Not once did he take a step back. She kept it up and kept it. This 2-3 minutes this is going on. We're all standing there, me and my daughter, just like, what in the world? And she finally quit, and she talked about, well, see, he needs this and he needs that. First of all, if I walked up to him and I leaned forward and I said, back, Gamble went back up. And so she goes at it again. Boom, 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 boom. And his head, I swear, I don't know how he got it that high. He never took a step back. And then she stopped. And she says, well, what he needs is more training. What she needs is a better understanding. And we were upset about it. We were upset that she thought she needed to be so brutal. All she had to do, and it's one of the techniques we use, is right where the clip comes to the bridle, to the halter, we just V our hand and apply pressure against that, and their head comes in, and as soon as they take a step back, we release, and then we go right into it again. And that's how we taught the animal. There was none of the shaking and carrying on stuff. It wasn't necessary. So that was when the light bulb did go on for me that we need to stop worrying about direct pressure, pressure release, approach and retreat. Let's start thinking about the mental aspects of it. And that's pretty much the minute that all that came into play and helped me figure out what the heck we're doing. We break it down two ways. Training by submission, pressure and release, approach and retreat, direct pressure. Training by understanding. 4 words: focus, timing, patience, and time. And 2 rules. Who's in charge? And you have to be. It doesn't mean you need to be mean-spirited. What it means is that that Mustang, that horse looks to you as the alpha. Control the head, control the horse. Control the head physically and mentally. We have 13 words, 13 cue words that we use to teach our horses. We have what's called change of pace exercise. So I'll go in the round pen without a lead rope, with nothing on the horse, and I will call them by name to let them know, hey, this is walk you on, I'll point, walk, and walk you on will walk. And I'll let him go around. Walk you on, trot, and he'll break into a trot, or she'll break into a trot. Then I'll step back and I'll say, change, and point, and she will change and go the other way. Walk you on. Canter, we use canter instead of lope because it's a harder word, canter instead of lope. And she'll start the lope. Walk you on. Trot. She'll break down to the trot. Walk, and she'll break down the walk. And I'll say, whoa, and then she'll turn to me. Now, why is this important? What if you could get that while you're in a saddle? How cool would that be? First of all, I wear spurs, but they're only as a teaching aid, never to make my horse go or whatever. How cool would it be if you go to get up in the saddle and you go, walking on, stay. And walking on just stands there, you put your foot in the stirrup, you get up in the saddle instead of your horse walking on. Because she understands to stay. Now you stand there, and I'll show you this later. It's called ask, tell, demand. We ask, we give them a chance. We tell, we give them a chance. We demand, and then they go. So if I ask, when I'm starting the horse, when I say walk, and I point, and I get nothing, I give them a chance, then I say, my next is to tell. Walk, and I'll wave the lead rope way behind me, just make some motion. When they still don't react to that, I will bring it in closer to them, and by that time, they're already moving. What we want to happen, and what does happen, is that we ask, tell, demand, but then when we go to that, we go ask, tell, and then they understand, they start to move, because they heard walk. And then we get down to just the ask. Now what happens in between is we go to ask, demand. They know what they're supposed to do, they just decide, hey, I want to do it. Well, listen, you are going to do it. We're going to work through this. But we use ask, tell, demand. It'll go to ask, tell, and then it'll just go to ask. So I sit on walking on, and I literally say, walking on, walk. And off she goes. And then I'll be sitting on her, walking on, trot. And she'll break into that trot. And I'll say, canter. And she'll canter. Whoa. She'll stop. Back. And she'll back. Now, I haven't done anything with the reins. I haven't done anything with my legs. So how easy is that ride? It's super easy. I mean, I haven't taught them left and right. I don't think you can do that. But walk, trot, canter, whoa, wait, stay. One of the cue words is no. Because when they start to, no, and I say, what? What do you want? So you go through that. That's controlling the head. And that's how you control the horse. And we use it in the way, and that's what we call it, the way. Direct pressure and indirect pressure. I'm going to give you a really neat example of indirect pressure. I got a room. There's one door. It's about a 10 by 10. In the middle of the room is a little table, maybe 42 inches in diameter. There's 4 chairs, red, yellow, black, white. On the table in front of each chair is a stack of paper and a pencil. I bring a 5-year-old, 6-year-old child in, and I open the door, we walk in, and I let go of her hand, and I don't do anything. She walks over to the table, sits in the red chair, and she starts to draw with the pencil on the paper. Okay? And I said, come on, we leave. We set it all up again. We come back in again. I don't say anything. I don't care if she goes, sits in the corner or sits under this table. I don't care. She goes right back to that red chair and draws again. And you go, okay, come on, let's go out and set it up again. This time she comes in, she goes and she sits in the white chair. She starts to draw. She starts to draw, and I walk over with a carton of crayons. Here. She goes, cool. She starts drawing with the crayons. All right, we're out, set it all up again. She comes back out. She goes back to the black chair. Just a pencil. Go out, set it up. She goes back in. She goes right to the red chair. You give her the crayons. Holy, this is cool. She likes it. Indirect, there was no pressure for her to draw. I don't care what she did. All I wanted her to do was to make the choice. I'm going to try to help her understand what I'm asking her to do. I want you to sit in the white chair. Indirect pressure was bringing her into the room. Direct pressure would have been, come over, sit down in this chair and draw. And then if you sit in this chair and draw, I'll give you some crayons. That's the direct pressure. Indirect pressure was to walk into the room and that. But I'm going to help you understand what I'm asking you to do. This is a combination of the mental, the psychology, or psychology, and a combination of R+. Because I'm rewarding you for the right answer. Now, well, what the hell's that got to do with horses? Watch this. So I do the same test. I have 3 stalls. I have my 23-year-old registered paint Coda. I put hay in each one of them with the doors open. And I call him in, come on in. And he goes to the far right. And he gets in there and he sees the hay. Oh, he needs the hay. All right, come on out. And I load him up again. Now, the one on the far left has got some feed in the feed bucket. But he didn't know that. So he comes back in, he goes to the same place and eats that. He wants to go in the other, but I won't let him. No, he can't go in there. He can smell it, but no, not going in there. Comes back in, he goes to the one on the far right, eats the hay, eats the feed. Guess where he goes the next time he goes in? Right to the left. Right? Heck yeah, I want that feed. So this is R+, but this is working on the mental aspect. What was the indirect pressure? Asking him to come into the stable. There was no other pressure. I didn't say, you got to go into that one or you got to go into that one, like we do with the pressure and release and approach and retreat, or direct pressure. We use indirect pressure to help them understand what we're asking them to do. And I put this in indirect pressure, the kindergartner, to remind me that example is a perfect example of how we can get something done without direct pressure or the approach and retreat. I did it. Okay. Then, again, it's in the book and it's even called Let's Get To It. We talk about the 2 rules that we just talked about. Talk about low energy, high energy. 90% of everything we do is on low energy. What is low energy? Slow your thinking down, slow your breathing down, slow your heart down, slow your animations down, slow everything down. And it's not something you can fake. You've got to be actually realize. I mean, when I'm out there doing these Mustangs that are stuck, people are stuck with, and some of them are real aggressive. I had one a few years ago, and it was a paddock area about as big as this Ford area. And the lady has had this Mustang for 5 years. She's had him saddled in road, but every time she gets in the saddle, he bolts. She can't get him to do the groundwork. His attention span is gone. He's always calling out, looking around. So I got there. I took my stick and flag, my halter, and my lunge line, which is 18 feet long, and there's no metal clip. It's a knot. I don't want to be banging anybody with a clip. And I went out and stood in the middle of the paddock, and that Mustang went nuts. He ran right by me and did a double barrel to try to scare me and intimidate me. Just carried on for 15, almost 20 minutes. The lady asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need some help?" I go, no, we're fine. And finally, I'm standing basically from here to the wall out there, and here he comes trotting at me. And when he did, I took the flag and I shooed him away. Nope. And he went back and he stood there with his ears all perked up, and his head's all up, and his neck is all tense, and he's like, "What the hell? I thought you wanted me." So then I waited. Here he comes again, trot. Nope, sorry. Third time, he lowers his head and then walks to me. Now, CF, it's called reassurance. And we initiated reassurance in the way. What is reassurance? When a horse does anything right at any time, what we do is it's like a fist bump to their nose. We open that hand and we rub right up between their eyes, and we just rub lightly, very lightly, and then we step back. Every time they do anything right, good job. What happens? After a few repetitions, when you say good job and you go like this, they lower that head looking for reassurance. What are we doing? We're bonding. We're really connecting now. Now, I still do R+, but what I had found out from a good friend of mine, one of the trainers here, Sky Epperson, is that the horse has a lot of nerve endings on the forehead. So by rubbing that, I'm helping release dopamine and serotonin. I didn't know that at the time until Sky told me. But what happens is they start looking for that. Life is good. I'm okay, you're okay, I'm okay. That's what we're doing. Reassuring. I'm reassuring you. Hey, good job. So, we talked about ask, tell, demand. And when a horse decides they don't want to do it, we go from ask to demand. It's not a big deal. We work through it. I love this saying. It's one that I came up with. Comfort brings confidence. If we're working through the way and we're doing a lot of the mental aspects of it, and the horse is like, "Hey, how you doing, partner?" And it's like, "I'm doing great. How you doing?" Now they're really comfortable with you, so they become more confident, and you become more confident. I have a 3-year-old that I got a year and a half ago for a tip challenge. His name, Tate Omani, and it means travels with the wind. And it was the first opportunity in 3 years that I had to work with a raw Mustang. I've been working with all these problem Mustangs. It was just that people didn't understand and they were stuck. So when they got the way and they kind of read through it, and it was like, yeah, maybe I should be doing this. And I'm going to explain one of them, tolerance to acceptance. They realized the more comfortable the horse got with me, without worrying about all the training, the more apt they were to be willing to work with what I'm trying to help them understand them to do. So comfort brings confidence, and confidence is the foundation to trust in Mustangs and the trainer. Now, I capitalize trust. What is it and how much is really there? People go, oh, my horse trusts me. And I've had CODA 15 years and we're at 95%. It is not 100%. People go, well, my horse trusts me. Does he? I'm going to put a wading pool, 5-foot diameter wading pool, I'm going to put 6 inches of water in, and I'm going to put little plastic balls in there. And I want to see you cross that with your horse. Because your horse trusts you. What is trust? I think the best example of trust are those guys that do those extreme challenges, where they got to walk across a swinging bridge, and they got to go here, they got to go there. When that rider asks that horse to do it, here's what the horse says. The horse says, if you say it's okay, it must be okay, then I'm going to go. That's the trust we all look for. But if you don't have that, then you just have to keep building on it. The other part is what we call tolerance and acceptance. Okay. Tolerance and acceptance is really cool. I want to share this one with you because it's a perspective you probably haven't thought about. So we get a brand new Mustang, and I want to get that first touch. No, you're not touching me. No, you're not touching me. Finally, you walk up and you get the touch. You go, oh my God, I got the touch. This is so cool. And the Mustang going, hey, what the hell are you doing? Then you go over again. You do it again. He goes, okay, it's all right, it's all right. And you do it one more time. You walk over and you touch him. He goes, yeah, okay. Then you want to do the first rub. You walk over and you try to do the first rub. He goes, hey. And then you go over and he goes, And then you do it again and he goes, oh, that's all right. And then you start scratching on the withers and you go, oh man, this is a winner. What happened? Now, I got to hold this. His tolerance when we start was way up here. You really struggle tolerating anything that you wanted to do. Your acceptance is way down here. So as his tolerance lowered, where he's like, yeah, I'm okay with the touch, you can do it, his acceptance is going up. So the goal is to get his tolerance to go down and his acceptance to come up, to the point where he's like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. I'm going to put the saddle on. Are you nuts? His tolerance. It's way up here. How am I going to put that on me? And then all of a sudden it comes down. And his acceptance goes up. Now you just throw the saddle on. So our goal is to lower tolerance and raise acceptance. And what's the ultimate goal? Trust. As we build acceptance, more and more, we start getting to that goal of trust. So that's basically, it's like a roadmap of all these things that we do to get to that trust, to where I'm just going to get, my 3-year-old that I have right now is incredible. I'm having so much fun with him. And first time I took a leaf blower. You know those streamer leaf blowers? I got him in the round pen, and I just want to see what he's willing to do. I turn that thing on, I got it way over here, he's over on the other side of the 50-foot round pen. And he's like, hey, what you got? He starts walking towards me. No, wait, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be afraid. And I turn it and blow it right on him. He goes, holy, what is that? I go, I took it away. Next thing, here he comes. Next thing you know, his nose is this far away from that. Why? Because that tolerance has gone down, acceptance has come up, and the trust kept getting better. So I got through as many of these as I could. I will be here tomorrow, and I'll go over this again tomorrow. I talked about positive reinforcement. Can you do it? Can you get there without it? Yes. Who's motivated more? Here's the deal. Who was more motivated? That little girl was willing, or that little child was willing to sit in that black chair because she was motivated to sit there. That's how the R plus was working. 2080 new. Horses retain 20% of everything we show them. You have to reteach 80%. So they got the 20%, and you reteach the 80%. Now they retain 20% of the 80%. And you keep moving on and on and on. Now what's the new? For us, every time we do, every session that we do with the horse or Mustang, we introduce something new. And it can be as minor as picking up their tail and pulling it all to the one side. And they go, hey, what the heck? There's a tolerance. Watch. Oh, okay. So now all of a sudden that acceptance goes up. And again, this is working through the mental process. This is not, I'm not taking anything away, and I use pressure and release and approach and retreat and direct pressure, but it is not my primary method of getting to that Mustang, to that horse. I want to find a way to get to that point without using that if it's at all possible. But you get that point where you got to go for it. And sometimes they know exactly what you want. That's when we tell them, you're just about to go to Papa Mike's boot camp. And so we're going to use pressure release and whatever else. Thanks for listening. The book is a whopping $14, and it's more entertaining to read the first time through. And it's what I tell people. The people that have gotten it and responded have said exactly the same thing. You write like you talk, and it was really fun reading it. But then I did what you said, and read it again, and all of a sudden I started picking up the little things that will help. And what did it? It's like I said, some people don't even think about tolerance and acceptance. One more thing that's probably relevant. How many of us walk into the barn, said, I'm going to go for a ride today. You walk up to the stall, you put a halter and a lead rope on your horse, you lead him out, you put him in the cross ties. You put the saddle on, you put the halter, you put your bridle on, and off you go. Not once did we stand at the door of that stall and say, hey, how you doing? How you feel? Because if that horse could talk, he'd say, look, my back right stifle's a little stiff, and I stepped on something on my front left, and I don't know, I think I ate something that wasn't exactly right last night, so forth and so on. But if you start reading the signs of what they will give